I want you to imagine this. You've been transported back into time, back into ancient Greece. You're on one of those Greek triremes, and you've been placed with two men. You don't know them. One man has an ancient Greek sword beside him, sheathed, a xiphos. As you look at it, you can tell it's worn. The pommel is worn. The guard is worn. Just by looking at it, you know that it's been passed down generation to generation. This man's father and his father before him took this xiphos into battle to protect his motherland, to protect ancient Greece from its invaders, from its enemies. Then there's the other man that's beside you. He's not carrying a sword. He doesn't know what you know though. You know that he's carrying a dagger. He's carrying a dagger somewhere concealed, hidden away somewhere on his body. You don't know where, but you know he's armed. You don't know what he's done with this dagger. You don't know whose blood is on it. You don't know what it's seen. You don't know his intentions. You don't know. All you know is that on his person, on his body, there's a deadly weapon. I want to ask you now, if you had the choice, which of these two men would you take arms with? Which of these two men would you rather work with? Which of these two men would you rather have around you? And more importantly, which man would you prefer to be? Our quality of masculine energy is a direct reflection of whether we carry a sword or a dagger. Because a sword is symbolic. It is a symbol for the mature masculine energy. It is the emblem of the mature masculine. It is the representation of honor, of courage, of strength, of mastery, of our responsibility, our power over life and death. I'm sure you know the story of the sword and the stone. Only that who is worthy of divine purpose, who is worthy of pulling mighty Excalibur out of the stone and wielding its power. It is Luke Skywalker learning the ways of the lightsaber of the Force. The sword and the stone is representation of becoming worthy of power. This kind of man wields great power and great responsibility. The dagger, on the other hand, is hidden away. This represents the man that pretends, that seems like he's harmless, that portrays himself as he's not capable of violence, of taking away life, of being dangerous. This man is passive aggressive. His form of aggression is passive aggression because it is not possible for a man to not have a blade. If he portrays himself as someone who is innocent, incapable of violence, his violence is inward. His violence comes out in other ways. He has a shadow lurking, a very dark, heavy, sadistic shadow that he hides away. No man can hide away from these archetypal energies. Archetypes are patterns or symbols that have been present throughout all of human history. So swords, blades, etc., they've been present in our human history. Since the beginning, we've been fashioning these symbols. The phallic symbol, the sword, is a phallic symbol. No person, no man can run away from this. It is embedded in our patterns of human DNA. It is embedded in our psyche, in our being, in who we are. And they constellate in different ways. They come out in different ways in each individual. The symbolic nature of the dagger and the sword are symbolic representations of the mature masculine, of masculinity. And really it's not hard to see, right? Like there's these symbols, these phallic symbols everywhere. The pyramids, the Spartan symbol, the lambda symbol, swords, daggers, all these different things, they're symbolic of the masculine. It's inescapable. For the mature masculine, it's a matter of channeling and wielding these powers appropriately. Because these symbols, these archetypes, are extremely powerful. It's like trying to touch a 40,000 volt power generator with your bare hands. It's like trying to touch the Ark of the Covenant, like in Indiana Jones, and poof, you die, you disappear. You cannot handle the divine energy. The most we can do is learn how to channel this energy appropriately. You cannot escape them. So at most, we can learn to live with them. We can learn to channel that energy for our own benefit, to move forward in this world, to become the mature masculine, to become master of our own selves, of our energies. So a proper king and warrior archetype are able to pull the sword from the stone. They're able to channel that energy in a healthy and appropriate way. A person who's unable to do that, either becomes a weakling or a tyrant. And we see this all the time, right? A person who cannot wield energy becomes weak. A person who wields too much energy and is inappropriate with his energy becomes a tyrant, and eventually he falls. There's these cycles that we see. You either become weak or you become too powerful and corrupt and prideful and arrogant and tyrannical. So there's a major benefit of learning what these archetypes are. There's a major benefit of knowing how to take hold of these archetypes, because archetypes are tyrants. They're like the Greek gods, right? They look down on us humans. They're divine. They want to consume you. They want all of your attention. But all humans are unable to contain this energy appropriately, and it comes out in a lot of chaotic ways if we either go one way too extreme, too little of one, or too much of another. It's important to note that throughout this video, we are not the archetypes. We are not the king. We are not the warrior. We are not the magician or the lover. There's a multitude of archetypes, almost an infinite amount, and we are not an archetype. We all know that guy, right? Who is consumed by the warrior, and he becomes this militant type of guy. It's only about orderliness. It's only about action. It's only about doing. Forget everything else. We all know that person that gets consumed by the king energy and becomes a tyrant. He wants everything under his domain. And we all know that person that falls into the lover and goes off and just cares about pleasure and passion. He disappears off the face of the world. He frolics with women and is consumed by this energy. Or on the other hand, they are consumed by the Dionysus type of energy, which is a lover archetype, creativity flowing. They burn bright, super bright, but only for a short amount of time. These people have not been able to appropriately harness this divine energy. They've been consumed by it. So for men specifically, the reason why so many men have been unable to pull that sword from the stone is because they do not feel worthy of it. They feel like they do not have permission to get it. There's a lack of male initiation in the modern day. Remember, back in the tribal days, back in ancient history, ancient humans, even more recently, there were initiations for males. You went through a rite of passage in order to become a man. You had to go through a trial, through a vision quest in order to become a man. Now there's no such vision quest. There's no such rite of passage. There's pseudo initiations, but not a proper dying of that boy into a man. The community is lost. The tribe is lost. The father figures are lost. It's no wonder that men feel that they shouldn't pull that sword, that they can't, they don't want to. Either that or they give it to a woman. They don't know that a woman cannot give your masculinity. A woman cannot give you your manhood. It is you who needs to pull the sword of the stone. It is us. And then of course there are those who attempt to wield this power for their own benefit. They become arrogant, prideful. They go too far in one way. But the thing is, like Excalibur disappearing when King Arthur was no more, that divinity also goes away, that divine power. Because hubris and pride will always fall. It will constantly in his psyche and disarm him in one way or another. We see this. We see fallen kings, fallen figures, fallen celebrities, fallen artists, scandals, spiritual people all the time get disarmed by their own arrogance. So even those people that seemingly look like they have pulled the sword are not wielding the real sword of masculine power. And you might be asking yourself, well then, how do I pull that sword from the stone? First, we must be honest with ourselves. We must confront ourselves and be entirely raw. We must ask ourselves, who are we now? Honestly, who are we now? Because I'll tell you right now, for me, for a long time, I felt completely unworthy and incapable of taking the sword. I felt guilt. Think about it in this modern day, right? It is bad to have a sword. It's been ingrained in us that swords kill, that it's bad, masculinity is bad, that it's evil, that's aggressive, tyrannical, violent, it kills. So we've been taught, don't take that sword, don't take it. You're gonna kill someone, you're gonna hurt someone, you're gonna hurt yourself or others. So a lot of men feel this sense of guilt and shame, even when they're not aware of it, of taking that sword, of taking that power. Now me, I don't want to take that, I don't want to touch that, I don't want to be canceled, I don't want to be seen as bad, I don't want to be bad. But remember, a man who doesn't have a sword has a dagger. That's where society is wrong. That's where out there they don't understand that you need a sword. You must become worthy of the sword first, but you need a sword. And I also want to note that no woman can give you this sword. No woman can give you the sword. Not your mother, not your wife, not your girlfriend. And if anything, we must take the sword. We must go out of our way. Even if they're saying, no, don't take that sword, you have to take that sword. You have to go against your own mother. You have to go against, you must separate yourself from the mother, from the feminine, and individuate on your own. And you must learn, you must have the capacity to deal with the guilt and responsibility of having that sword. And I know I'm saying you, but really I'm saying we. We must build ourselves to have that capacity of dealing with the guilt of having that sword. And we must tread carefully here. Because masculine initiation is no joke. It is no joke. If you look at the history, some African tribes, what they go through, you get beaten to near death. You get taken off into the jungle, into the woods, and left to survive. You get taken to the Spartanagoge for all those years, trained harshly, left outside in the raw elements, in the cold, in the snow, hungry, thirsty. These initiations were actually fatal. You could actually die in the flesh. So male initiation is no joke. Because in order for a man to be a man, the boy must die. A boy must die to become the man. A man, must confront his own mortality. So that's why in this channel, in this space, I advocate proper ego development. A proper ego, a healthy ego, is going to be the container for you to have these energies. And have these energies without going crazy in one way or another. Either too depressed or manic. These are poles of the same thing. Extremes of the same thing. And remember, archetypes are divine power. We are not them. We are not meant to be them. We are not meant to be the king. We're not meant to be these figures. But what we can do is learn to channel them appropriately. If you like these types of videos, I invite you to subscribe to this channel as I work on this series of videos about masculine energy. There's also a quiz you can take down in the link below to tell you what archetype you're in right now. Whether at this moment you're channeling the king, the warrior, the magician, or the lover. Let me know down in the comments below what archetype you get, and if there's anything specific you want me to answer in the following videos. I really appreciate you guys watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.